Coach, I guess first things first, the reports are out. You won't have Andrea Bargnani for the rest of the season. Have you talked to him about expectations for him, or really what can you say to him at this point?
Well, expectations are you rehab. If he gets back within 3 to 4 weeks, fine. But in all reality, it's probably going to be at the end of the season before he's back going. But his expectations is, working rehab is what he's been doing, working our people to get it back. And it's unfortunate the young man can't catch a break. No pun intended. But it's one of those things where it's one injury after another, and they're injuries. It's not like he's got an owie or something. They're legitimate injuries, and so it's what's tough because he's missed so many games, and he was such a big part of what we wanted to do. And he would be such a big help to Rudy and to DeMar as far as stretching the floor. We need that. And unfortunately, he's out.
What can the coaching staff tell him now, knowing that keeping him upbeat and positive is probably one of the most important things?
Well, I mean, he's still, part of practice. He's still, a member of our team. Again, it's hard to motivate someone when they're not available to play. And, again, a lot of the rehab is going to be on him. And, injuries are part of the NBA. We just have to move on and get together as a unit. As we saw last night, it doesn't matter who you have on the floor, but if you're not together and you're going to have some of those clunkers like that last night.
How much of a learning night was last night, especially for Jonas, who KT had his hands full, obviously?
Well, it's a two-edged sword. Everybody is clamoring for young guys to play, and unfortunately, there's veteran players in the league, and there's so much to learn. And we knew that with Jonas, and he's making progress. But when you're playing against a veteran player like that, not only is your, what you do defensively is important, but your spacing. If you're 1 or 2 steps off, a veteran player like Garnett knows how to zone up, clog things up, and just take the other team totally out of the offensive set. So there's so much that goes into that, and that's why it's hard to play rookies and play them extended minutes, but we got to. He's a big part of what we're doing in the future. So the only way he's going to do is learn, and it's painful sometimes, as we saw last night, to play 2 rookies big minutes, but we got to do it.
Was that the biggest takeaway for Jonas last night, then, that spacing?
Spacing is huge. Spacing is huge. And then also, too, recognizing rotations, recognizing coverage quickly, whether you're showing, whether you're walling. There's a lot that goes into one possession that you got to recognize. And against a veteran team, they can really make you look bad defensively if you're not on point, on target.
The other rookie now, Terrence, you talked about his shot selection earlier in the week and getting better shots within the flow of the offense. Last night, what did you see from him in his selection?
Well, he had some good shots. I don't question some of his shot selections. I got on him about rushing to take the ball out of bounds. He's never taken the ball out of bounds and throwing it away, and I think he recognized that as soon as he stepped out of bounds. But again, getting caught up in the game and rookie mistakes, and there's so much to learn again on his part also, what to do away from the ball, moving without the ball, and his decisions once you do have the ball, other than shooting the ball.
Did Rudy practice today?
Yes, he did. No problem. He practiced, and his back, it's still stiff, but he's playing with it, and again, that's something he's got to. He's got to take care of in the off season, whether strengthening certain muscles and that type of thing to get it where it's 100%.
Do you think he's restricted at all physically because of the injury?
I think your back is such a big part of whatever you do. Whether you're shooting the ball, handling the ball, definitely defensively, getting down in the stance. So I'm sure it does. I'm not in it. You have to ask him how much it does restrict him and how much it does take away from his movement and his shooting. But I do know he hadn't been himself since he's had the back issues the night we played Milwaukee.
What's up with the goggles? Did you see those?
Yes, he's trying out some goggles. You'll talk to Alex and those guys about it. About some eye issues but you can talk to them about it.
Like prescription?
Prescription, yeah.
I don't know if you have an answer for this, but with Andrea out for the foreseeable future, do you think there will be a move to bring Quincy back?
That's a good question. We talked about that as an organization. Brian and I talked about it. Wanted Quincy to get some full games under his belt and bring him back toward the end. But he needs to play big minutes. And now to play he, Terrence, and Valanciunas is a little much, and so that's the hard thing. And so he's going to play some full games down and then come back and try to integrate him back into what we're doing here. Last few games, last 10, 12 games.
Coach, you emphasized running the ball yesterday going into the game. How tough is that to do against defensive-minded veterans?
Very difficult, and that's why you got to be able to do both. You got to be a running team. If you want to run, you got to run the floor. But at the end of the day, against a great defensive team, you've got to be able to execute in a half-court game. And the key thing is spacing, and that's where guys have to understand where they are. And one man can take you out of a lot of stuff if you're not in your specific area spacing-wise. And that's one thing I think Jonas learned and saw yesterday.